open wide.
Ready?
Here comes your chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
Thank you, everybody. let's go right to his West Point speech. There's nothing more inspirational to me than hearing from my Lord and Savior, Donald Trump, as he speaks to the West Point graduates. Tony, let's give it a ride.
Big home builders, and he became very rich.
He's talking about his friend or an acquaintance of his.
He decided to sell. He was offered a lot of money by a big conglomerate, Gulf and Western, big conglomerate. They didn't do real estate. They didn't know anything about it, but they saw the money he was making. They wanted to take it to a public company, and they gave him a lot of money, tremendous amount of money, more money than he ever thought he'd get. And he sold this company, and he had nothing to do. He ended up getting a divorce, found a new wife. Could you say a trophy wife? I guess we can say a trophy wife. It didn't work out too well. But that doesn't work out too well, I must tell you. A lot of trophy wives, doesn't work out. But it made him happy for a little while at least. But he found
Please don't interrupt the homily when he's doing it.
My bad.
Yeah. Don, you don't have to stop it, Tony. We'll be talking over it a little bit. So.
He sold his little boat and he got a big yacht. He had one of the biggest yachts anywhere in the world.
There's going to be a moral to this story.
He moved for a time to Monte Carlo and he led the good life. And time went by and he got bored. And 15 years later, the company that he sold to called him and they said, the housing business is not for us. You have to understand, when Bill Levitt was hot, when he had momentum.
That's the guy he's talking about.
He'd go to the job sites every night. He'd pick up every loose nail. He'd pick up every scrap of wood. If there was a bolt or a screw laying on the ground, he'd pick it up and he'd use it the next day in putting together a house. But now he was spoiled and he was rich. He was really rich. And they called and they said, this isn't for us, this business. We do other things. Would you like to buy it back? We'll sell it back to you cheap. And they did. He bought it. He bought it. He thought he made a great deal. And he was all excited. But it was 15 years later. He lost a lot of momentum. Remember the word momentum. And
that's what he's getting at, Kim, momentum.
He lost everything. It just didn't work. He lost everything. And I was sitting at a party on Fifth Avenue one night, long time ago, and you had the biggest people in New York, the biggest people in the country, all in that party, and they were all saluting each other, how great they were. They were all telling each other, I'm greater than you. Gets to be really, gives you a headache sometimes. But they had all these people, they're telling their own stories about how fantastic. A cocktail party, and I looked over, and I was doing well. I was invited to the party, so I had to be doing well. I was very, very young, but I made a name in real estate. And I looked over, and at the party, sitting in a corner all by himself, nobody was talking to him, was Mr. Levitt. He had just gone bankrupt, lost everything.
He's getting
he
to the
lost
point,
everything. His home.
He wasn't doing well.
Everything.
He was invited to the party, and he was bankrupt.
No.
I went over and talked to him because he was in the real estate business, and I love real estate. And I said, hello, Mr. Levitt, how are you? He said, hello, Donald, it's nice to meet you. He knew me from being in the business. I said, so how's it going? He goes, not well. It's really not going well, as you've probably read. It's been very, very tough period for me, son. I said, so what happened?
He really does.
Anything you can do? He goes, no, there's not a thing I can do. He said, I'll never forget. He said, I've lost my momentum. I just didn't have it. I used to have it, but I lost my momentum. So it's a story I tell, and you have to know when you have the momentum, but sometimes you have to also know when you've lost the momentum.
And now his daughter is the press secretary.
Yes. Sometimes leaving what you're doing sometimes is okay, but you got to have momentum. But you have to know that momentum's gone. You have to know when to say it's time to get out. And it's a very sad story. I remember that story so well, like it was yesterday.
That's a sweet story,
Fifth, you have to have
Kim.
the courage to take a...
Yeah, that's a sweet story. And by the way, all of you are going to be getting these Make America Great Again hats, like the one I'm wearing right now. I mean, these guys at West Point, I say guys generically, men and women. By the way, it had to kind of make Trump irritated. You know how they feel about women and minorities. I believe the person who spoke for the children, they call for the graduates, the valedictorian. The valedictory speech was given by a woman. That's right, top of the class. Yeah, it was a woman. So again,
DEI, Mark, DEI.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Mark. Kim Albert from Chaplain Fred with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Chaplain Fred. So
I think the snoozes were for Donald Trump's speech.
Yeah, he's definitely the Z's.
Yeah.
So Trump was meandering, doing his thing. As I say, at the end of the speech, he noted that he had to leave, wish that he could meet everybody, but he had to get back to Russia and to China. And then, of course, he left and he went to play golf. And that is the truth. And if you Google it, you will find it is indeed the case. Just one of two speeches that Donald Trump gave. The second speech was a Memorial Day speech. And his Memorial Day speech, again, this is to recognize all of those who've made the supreme sacrifice and given their lives in various ways to this country, in various theaters of war and various military exercises. And these are all military veterans who've lost their lives and their families who all commemorate that loss. It's a profoundly somber day. And Donald Trump sprinkled a little bit of what would you call it, campaign rhetoric into his Memorial Day speech. Here's a little piece.
Young men could never have known what their sacrifice would mean to us, but we certainly know what we owe to them. Their valor gave us the freest, greatest, and most noble republic ever to exist on the face of the earth, a republic that I am fixing after a long and hard 4 years. That was a hard 4 years we went through. Who would let that happen? People pouring through our borders unchecked. People doing things that are indescribable and not for today to discuss. But the republic that is now doing so very well, we're doing so very well right now, considering the circumstances, and will do record-setting better with time. We will do better than we've ever done as a nation, better than ever before. I promise you that.
And it's interesting, he did additionally write a Memorial Day missive of some kind, didn't he, Kim? He wrote Tony's got it up there. I mean, we don't have to read the entire thing, but it's pretty, pretty on brand for him. Happy Memorial Day to all, including the scum that spent the last 4 years trying to destroy our country through warped radical left minds who allowed 21 million people to illegally enter our country, many of them being criminals and the mentally insane, through an open border that only an incompetent president would approve. And
wait. This is, I thought it was Memorial Day to honor our war dead.
Yeah, well,
what's happening here?
Maybe he'll get to that.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Only an incompetent president would approve, and through judges who are on a mission to keep murderers, drug dealers, rapists, gang members, and released prisoners from all over the world in our country so they can rob, murder, and rape. Again, I'm sorry I said the R word because that's going to get me demonetized. But, and I've already said it a couple of times. It's funny, the president can put it in a Memorial Day address, but when I say it, it gets me demonetized. Right. I will say this, that, we can side-eye this, which we're doing. I've only read half of it, by the way. It goes on, and I can read the rest of it, but I wanted to note that these are serious things he's saying. We can side-eye it and we can kind of go, oh my God, he's just such a joke. But, there are judges being threatened in all of that. And did I freeze up on you? I see my internet is it okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I worry about this stuff. I mean, obviously these figures that he mentions, 21 million and all this sort of thing, he's just pulling that out. That's just completely, but when he goes after judges like that, it's a serious thing. There's a call here. to, I mean, a kind of implicit call to, what could be eventually kind of stochastic violence. Excuse me. So I worry about this stuff. And I worry, in other words, this caustic rhetoric does have an effect over time. And so, again, the solemnity of Memorial Day, he doesn't get. The seriousness of it, he doesn't get. And there is a rich irony in a president who lied about his medical record to get out of military service, who has smeared Gold Star families, who has made fun of those who have made sacrifices in the past. There is I'm talking about military sacrifices of their lives. They've come back disfigured. They've come back in all sorts of ways that will have ripple effects through their lives until they have nothing but their reflections left. All of these things from a president who has made no sacrifices, as I say, this kind of rhetoric is just utterly inexplicable. It's truly inexplicable. It's almost parody, So at the same time that Donald Trump was doing his West Point stuff and his Memorial Day stuff, there were other commencement speeches going on. And Scott Pelley, the anchor from CBS, 60 Minutes anchor as well, he made comments, and they were directed right at Donald Trump. Here you go.
In this moment, this morning, our sacred rule of law is under attack. Journalism is under attack. Universities are under attack. Freedom of speech is under attack. And insidious fear is reaching through our schools, our businesses, our homes, and into our private thoughts. The fear to speak in America. Power can rewrite history with grotesque, false narratives. They can make criminals heroes and heroes criminals. Power can change the definition of the words we use to describe reality. Diversity is now described as illegal. Equity is to be shunned. Inclusion is a dirty word. This is an old playbook, my friends. There's nothing new in this.
So these are the calls. They continue, but we are where we are. But this Memorial Day weekend, with Trump making a lot of public remarks, making a lot of what seemed to be sort of ad-lib stories and riffing on Memorial Day about the Democrats, about Biden, about judges, etc. I mean, basically just keeping the blowtorch cranked up to 10. It was an extraordinary contrast to some of the speeches that were given nationwide. There were some great ones. There were some stirring ones. But that's your chunk of Trump.
That's it for this edition.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
But make sure to join us again next time
I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening.
for another chunk of Trump.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.